Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michèle Flournoy, the co-founder and now newly returned as CEO of the Center for New American Security, and it's my great honor and privilege to welcome you to the 8th annual CNAS National Security Conference. You know, the first time I stood up here was in June of 2007. Kurt Campbell and I had co-founded CNAS in February of that year, and about 7 o'clock in the morning we were sitting up here biting our fingernails, asking ourselves whether anybody else would actually come. But fortunately we had our Field of Dreams moment. We built it, and you all came. And since then, this conference has been our signature event, getting bigger and better every year. This year we have a different problem. We have over 2,000 people who've signed up for this conference, so congratulations to you who've actually gotten a seat, and we'll try not to alarm the fire marshal. But I think the reason we have such a turnout this year is that we are convening at a really critical moment in our history, a critical and challenging and consequential time for the United States of America. Overseas, we are facing an increasingly challenging, complex, truly daunting international security environment. We see the rise of new powers like China displaying increasingly assertive behavior and challenging the rules-based international order that has kept stability in Asia-Pacific for many decades. We see the resurgence of a more assertive Russia, willing to coerce and even invade its neighbors. We see ongoing change, turmoil, instability in the Middle East, and the morphing of al-Qaeda to affiliates from metastasizing from Mali to Somalia to Yemen, now to Syria and back to Iraq. We see the continued proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and advanced technologies that mean that more and more lethal means of violence will be in the hands of non-state actors. We see an increasingly congested and contested global commons, particularly the domains of cyberspace and space. And I could go on and on. And here at home, we're also facing very profound challenges. What was once the center of gravity in American politics, the pragmatic center, has now become a virtual desert, depopulated on almost a no man's land. We are suffering from an unprecedented period of political paralysis that is doing real damage to the United States, both at home and abroad. Here at home, it's preventing us from reaching the comprehensive budget deal that we all know is necessary to accelerate our economic recovery and growth. A comprehensive deal that would put everything on the table: entitlement reform, tax reform, investments in what will drive the future economic prosperity of this country. A deal that would create the predictable investment climate that would bring the billions of dollars that are sitting on the sidelines back into our economy. Abroad, our political paralysis is also affecting perceptions of American strength, leadership, and resolve among our allies and among potential adversaries. And this is contributing to a pernicious, although I believe erroneous, narrative of U.S. decline. So are you depressed yet? But there are opportunities. And I believe we are all here today because we believe those opportunities are substantial and they are real. They are rooted in the fact that our foundations as a nation and as a global leader remain remarkably strong. The U.S. economy remains the most innovative, entrepreneurial, and dynamic in the world. It is the envy of the world. The American energy revolution will not only reduce our dependence on foreign supplies, it will also grow our economy, grow jobs, and if we're smart about it, it will give us new tools of statecraft and new influence. Demographics. We have a growing population. We have a remarkable diversity that is a core strength of our society. We have a higher education system that attracts the best and brightest from around the world. Our military remains the best fighting force of the world, the highest quality people, the best technology, the best operational experience, the most capable. We have an unrivaled network of alliances and partnerships around the world and an unparalleled leadership role in international institutions. And lastly, our ideals and our values are an inspiration to peoples around the world, and they animate the very rules-based international order that is embraced by all but a few. So in short, the good news is the United States fundamentally remains positioned, uniquely positioned, to lead in the world. No other country can catalyze collective action to solve common problems the way we can. So the question is, how should we lead? And that is what this conference is all about today. It's about beginning to rebuild, step by step, plank by plank, person by person, the bipartisan consensus that we need to support our national security and to support a strong American role in the world. It's about developing strong, pragmatic, and principled national security and defense policies that will protect and advance American interests now and in the future. Since its founding, that has been the mission of CNAS. Today, that is our mission. We aim to elevate and frame the debate about the most important national security challenges and opportunities that we are facing as a nation. So we have a great agenda for you today, including the keynote address by U.S. National Security Advisor Susan Rice, and a speech this morning by Representative Paul Ryan. Let me just say that none of this would be possible without the very generous support of a number of our conference sponsors, and I'd like to just acknowledge them here. Palantir, Shell, the Asia Group, Beacon Global Strategies, the Carnegie Corporation of New York, Deloitte, Digilink, Finmeccanica, Huntington Ingalls Industries, L3, Latham & Watkins, PSAV, and Rolls-Royce of North America. So please join me in thanking them for making this possible. And now I'm going to get off the stage and get out of the way and let the proceedings begin. To do that, I'd like to introduce to you the head of the CNAS Strategy and Statecraft Program, Julianne Smith. Most recently, Julianne ran our Europe office in the Office of the Secretary of Defense in the Obama administration. She then went on in 2012 and 2013 to be the Deputy National Security Advisor to Vice President Biden. Please welcome Julianne Smith.
Well, good morning and welcome to all of you, and again, congratulations on getting a seat. We are going to start out the morning with a discussion about U.S. leadership. I think most of the folks in this room have been following the debates here in Washington, also a few of the debates outside of Washington, about how the United States should lead in the world, whether it should be leading, whether or not we should be assuming more of a global leadership role in various regions around the world. And you've no doubt taken note of some of the polling data that's been released over the last 6 months or so. I think one of the more interesting pieces of data that came out was the Pew survey from December of last year that showed that 52% of the American public thought the United States should, quote, mind its own business internationally. That polling survey data was then contradicted a little bit by some other surveys that indicated that Americans want to lead in the world, but perhaps they want the perks of leadership without the burdens and responsibilities. And so we're seeing a lot of contradictory data out there. There's a new survey that's going to be coming out. The Chicago Council on Global Affairs is preparing to release its 2014 data. They've been releasing bits of it. They show that 62% of Americans want a more active role in global affairs, however you might define that. And so we're not here today to go through all of the data and the survey results of American public opinions about global leadership. We're going to lift our heads up from that debate a little bit and ask our foreign friends. We have three very distinguished guests here this morning from Europe, from Asia, and the Middle East to give us their perspectives on their expectations of U.S. global leadership and how the United States should be taking on all of the challenges that are coming at it on a regular basis. Our moderator today is Judy Woodruff. She is no stranger to all of the folks in this audience. You know her as the co-anchor with Gwen Eiffel and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. She has over 3 decades of experience covering political affairs, international news at CNN, NBC, and PBS. And I couldn't think of a better person to moderate this discussion with us here this morning. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the panel over to her. She will introduce our distinguished foreign guests, and we'll get started right away. Thank you very much. Thank you.